This is the start to a many episode journey throughout your life. This is the very first episode where we're going to start with what came before you, actually, because you're the only person who's around to tell us about that.
And that's
as far as I
important
know.
too.
Yep.
That's
Yep. So I'm looking to hear stories. We're going to go through person by person down the tree, what you remember about them, and then if there's anything from more relevant to you that we might want to save that for like the next part, like when you're a kid, like things that were like important stories for that. But I especially want to hear kind of just like what they were like, where they came from, what they did, just kind of like a general short biography of everybody. Sound good?
okay.
Okay. So you're here. Let's go to your dad, your two dads, and your mom. So let's start with your mom first. Catherine Gill Packard. She was born in 1906 and she died in 1983.
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, she was a wonderful woman for one thing. Uh, she she was an only child of her parents.
Clayton and Mary Joanna.
Yeah, her mother was Mary Johanna King Packard, and we'll get that back first. But my mother was a housewife for most of her life.
Mm-hmm.
She was I should say that she was kind of a businesswoman too at the beginning of my life, because my father died when he was only 35.
Mm-hmm.
And he was a businessman. He was an oil distributor. He had his trucks and his business, and she had to.
So what is a oil distributor?
Oil distributor is someone who provided heating oil to different homes.
Okay. Like whale oil? Or no, that's too long ago.
That was heating oil mainly.
Okay.
And so she had to dissolve the business after he died, and she worked for the Bureau of Social Aid also as a social worker.
And was she doing that to make ends meet, or was she
to make ends meet? Okay. Yes, we had to struggle,
okay.
When my dad died. So she went to work, but after she remarried in 1943, when I was 8 years old, then she ceased working and just stayed at home and took care of her husband.
Okay.
And her family.
Let's actually talk about William Gerard Joyce then.
All right.
So, and then because Catherine, she had a very long life, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So William, tell me about him.
William Gerard Joyce was the eldest of 5 kids,
mm-hmm.
and he was born in Grand Rapids. Grew up in Canonsburg, which is a little village near Grand Rapids, maybe 12 miles away. And his father and his grandfather also were from Canonsburg, but we'll get to them
mm-hmm.
in a minute. The interesting thing is with him and my mother is that their parents were married in a common ceremony, in a dual ceremony. My father's parents and my mother's parents over at St. James Church in Grand Rapids.
Oh, on the same day?
Same day, same hour.
Oh my God.
It was a double ceremony.
That's funny.
Yeah, it really is. It's kind of unusual.
Yeah.
And their firstborns married each other.
So they obviously, after they met, then they kind of backtracked that and they just like figured that out. What a coincidence.
Well, yes. Well, I suppose the parents, my grandparents on both sides were friends.
Like, oh hey,
so they had family get-togethers and so forth, and so their firstborns married each other.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my parents. he graduated from Catholic Central High School in Grand Rapids, which is he was the only one of the 5 children who went to Grand Rapids to complete high school. The rest graduated pretty much from Parnell, Michigan, which is near Lowell.
Okay. Why is that? Or was Grand Rapids like?
Grand Rapids was the town. I mean, that was the big city.
Yeah, yeah.
So after that, he was very ambitious, and I remember my dad very well. I would go on his routes with him when he was delivering his oil to different gas stations and whatnot.
Do you know how old he was when he started that?
Well,
like right out of high school, he's going for it.
No, I don't know what he did just out of high school, but he was. I would say he was in late 20s.
Okay. When
he started that, and he was a partner with a guy by the name of Fenice, Fenice, I think, over in Ionia, and when that business dissolved, the partnership, then he took it over and ran the business. He also was a deputy sheriff at times, and he was alderman.
What's that?
Alderman, kind of city council type person over in Ionia. So he was on the rise politically as well. He when I would go with him on his truck delivery route, I remember one time that he had to pull over and sleep. And I was probably 4 years old. Okay. and looking back on that, it had to do with his heart.
Oh.
I mean, he was showing symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a heart attack a little bit later. And then when I was 4 going on 5, I took orange juice up to him in his bedroom, and I found him deceased.
Oh,
and so I was the one to inform my mother that things weren't right.
Yeah. Did you really understand what was going on?
I understood.
Yeah.
And so the next 3 years I was without a father, and that's pretty important in a kid's life.
Yeah, especially if you're 5.
And so I survived, as did my brother and sister.
Mm-hmm. How old were they?
My brother was 2 years older than I, and my sister 1 year.
Okay. Joan. Okay.
And Ed.
Motorcycles? Is that Ed? Motorcycle guy? Or is that someone else?
No, that was your Uncle Joe.
Okay. Did I ever know Uncle Ed then? Or great Uncle Ed?
Well, I think you did, but he was down in Florida most of when you were young. So
okay.
So that's
that. Did he die from a heart attack, or what did you figure out?
Yes, it was a coronary. According to the autopsy, it was a coronary at 35. Had he lived, I mean, had he had the problem today, he probably wouldn't have died.
Yeah.
But back then.
So what's the modern? Because obviously he was a skinny dude, so it wasn't because he was fat.
No,
heart attack.
And who knows? It was just they don't know.
Heart disease.
They don't know.
Okay.
His brothers died relatively young. Newman was a brother, and he died when he was 57. And his other brother in his 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So they didn't live to grand old age, like the others. And his father was William Patrick Joyce.
Yep.
And he was a merchant over in Canonsburg. And what he did, they had a grocery store, and he had to go in by wagon, horse and wagon, to Grand Rapids. That's 12 miles to get the produce to bring it back. It's a wonder it didn't wilt all the way back. He also was the owner of the post office and general store.
Cool.
And the bar. And he was a teacher.
So just everything. Everything in town.
And he was head of the Kent County Road Commission for years and years and years. That was a big job on his part.
So how far away did they live from you when this is going on?
Well, they were, Grand Rapids was about 35 miles. They were within 40 miles or so.
Okay.
And when my dad died, getting back to him, when he died, he was extremely popular, and there were well over 100 cars from Ionia to Parnell, where he was born, where he was buried, in the funeral procession. And so if you ever want to know where the Joyce people are buried, it's in Parnell, Michigan.
Okay.
And in the cemetery, there's St. Patrick's Church, and right across the road is the cemetery.
Okay.
So I remember going to many funerals and many burials.
Okay.
Throughout my young life.
So that's him, I'm guessing.
That is. Okay. You're guessing on what?
This picture here.
Oh, yes. Can you?
Yeah, he looks like I can definitely see my dad in him for sure. And then I can see Uncle Paul a little bit.
Yeah.
A little less so Uncle Mark.
I think that was probably the time he was married, and here's another one of them probably just before he died.
Okay.
Probably the same years.
All right.
And going back some, if I can, that's him.
Okay.
And these are your relatives.
Yeah. My dad's dissected this picture, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and you can have this when you go, so you can have it.
Cool.
But in this picture, you see the grandparents, the great-grandparents. This is Edward the First and his wife Elizabeth, and he was a wagon maker. And Studebaker really wanted his services, but he didn't go with him. But he was a very well-respected wagon maker over in that area. His father came from Ireland. Elizabeth Moran, his wife, she came from Ireland directly.
So this is your great-grandfather.
Okay. And great-grandmother, and then my grandparents are in there. I'll have to take a look here and see.
Well, we can point them out when we get to them.
Okay.
But
at any rate, they had about 10 kids, so that's they're all
the Irish, right?
Yeah, very Irish, very very Catholic.
So, do you have any other memories of William?
I remember him coming home from work and lifting me up and hugging me and that sort of thing. But beyond that, no.
Pretty young.
Well, he taught me how to urinate without taking my pants down. He told me how to get to where I had to get.
Yeah.
And so I remember that part.
So
okay.
So he dies. So then your mom, Catherine, has to take over the business. She dissolves it, sells his trucks.
She dissolves
anything else because she doesn't
probably
know how or want to deal with it. Right?
Yeah.
And
it was a very troubling time, and that's when her mother, my grandmother, who we called Gom, would come from Grand Rapids periodically and help out.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at earlier. I was wondering if people who came in to help out, because it's like so sudden. You don't even back then you don't expect anyone to die before they're 50.
Yeah, that's right. And my grandmother was what a taskmaster she was. We had a yard to mow, and by that time I suppose I was 5 or 6, and we had a real type lawnmower.
Yeah.
And she'd harness harness us to the to the lawnmower. We'd pull and she'd steer. That'd be child abuse today. But you know, she was a great person.
Yeah.
This is
Gum?
This is Gum,
Oh.
Joanna King Packard. She worked she worked all of her life doing something.
Mm-hmm.
But during the war, she worked in a factory and
She was a Rosie.
she was a Rosie.
Yep.
Yeah. So she also was a singer on Chautauqua, which was wasn't quite like vaudeville, but it was circuit.
Okay.
It went through many states.
Okay.
And she was a singer and an entertainer. And until my mother was an adult.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
How did backing up a second? How did
Mm-hmm.
Will and Catherine meet?
Well, I think through their family, through their
Oh, because they're
parents,
friends,
because
right?
they were friends. You know, that's how they met. And I don't know anything more about their love life
Mm-hmm.
except they were married at St. Thomas Church in Grand Rapids.
Yep.
And had 3 kids. My brother born in 1933, my sister in 34, and myself in 35. And that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where do you want to go from here?
I'd like to know about Daddy Lion now. So because he's a kind of interesting role, and that's like why we have our last name.
That's
it's not our
right.
real last name, but it's our real last name now. So yeah, tell me about how he came into the picture.
Well, when my mother was working.
And also first say his full name because I don't have it on the.
Okay. My stepfather, adopted father,
Adopted father.
the name is Sanford W. Lyon.
Sanford W. Lyon. Okay.
The W stands for Wiley.
Wiley.
And my mother met him when she was on business with a state social service agency for the Bureau of Social Aid.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow they got together, married in August of 1943 when I was 8 years old. Now back then, Matt, it was fairly common for a stepfather to adopt the kids under their name,
Okay.
under his name.
Mm-hmm.
And with him, he said, if I'm going to be responsible for your kids, talking to my mother,
Yeah.
he says, I want them to have my name, and I'll do what I need to do.
Okay.
So that's what happened. That was probably a bigger step in love than just saying, okay, I'm going to marry you and we'll take care of your kids.
Yeah.
So he was a rural mail carrier in Lake Odessa, and he had his mail route, the largest one over there. But he'd go to work probably about 7 o'clock in the morning to sort his mail, and he was home by 1.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, he was a carpenter and did a lot of other odd jobs.
Okay.
Around the house. He didn't lend himself out to other people,
Okay.
other than my grandmother and anybody who needed something done.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was a mail carrier. He had kind of a, from what I understand, I don't know this for sure, but he was kind of a pugilist, a boxer. Growing up, and he was a strong guy.
Yeah.
But once he married my mother, he tamed down, and I never heard a bad word out of him ever.
Oh, really? Okay.
No profanity, no bad words about anybody. He was into politics a lot.
Meaning you ran or he followed?
No, he just followed
Okay.
politics and
Okay.
argued politics.
Okay.
So that kind of a guy.
With whoever his friends or
Yeah.
whoever was around the house. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So he was a good father. He gave us a lot of encouragement. You know, he provided for
Mhm.
our needs.
Mm-hmm.
And but when he was 65, he retired to Florida. So when they went to Florida, we stayed here. So I had my family in Florida,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
We stayed here, and and so they didn't have a whole lot of interaction with your dad.
Yeah.
And
So were they in
his
Florida
sisters.
when you were having kids?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't have the parental support.
Yeah.
You know, once you had kids, somebody to take care of them.
Yes.
You know?
It was very nice to have.
It's nice to have, right? So.
So what was your? Did you stay in the same house your entire life as a kid?
As a kid,
Yeah.
I was born in Grand Rapids,
Mm-hmm.
but then reared for the first 13 years of my life in Ionia,
Okay.
and then went back to Grand Rapids for high school
Mm-hmm.
and college, and then the rest is kind of
So
history.
this was the same house that Sanford's fixing up, the same house.
Yeah,
as,
the one,
okay.
the one in Ionia, and then when I went to high school in Grand Rapids, then they moved to Lake Odessa,
Mm-hmm.
and he built a house there on the lake. And when he retired, they sold that. They went down to Florida. My mother didn't like it that much. They moved back to Lake Odessa, and he built another house there until they decided to go back to Florida again.
So how long were they back in Michigan for? Just a couple years?
Oh, yeah, a couple
Yeah.
years. That
Okay.
was about it.
Okay.
Back and forth. And your maternal grandparents had the same had the same
Same story.
indecisiveness,
Yeah.
you know.
Were they fully retired in Florida?
Yes.
And so did
Yeah.
they save money, or were they living on Social Security?
Well, he lived on his government pension.
Oh, pensions
that,
too. Yeah.
that he had. He never had Social Security. Neither did my mother. My mother never worked under the Social Security system,
Okay.
which came about 1935,
Yeah.
about the time I was born. But she was an organist for St. Edward's Church in Lake Odessa.
Mm-hmm.
So she played the organ for every mass, you know, during the week,
Mm-hmm.
at least probably on Sunday. And she did that for years and years and years, but they didn't pay her anything, and so she never was able to draw Social Security. So.
Yeah. So let's get back to her. So
Mm-hmm.
so she also born and raised in Michigan.
She was born, yeah, she was born in Grand Rapids, and as a matter of fact, her whole family, from the Packards. Her mother was a king, and the kings came from Marne, Michigan.
Okay.
And the kings, their most famous role, the kings, they were the biggest horse traders in Grand Rapids.
Okay.
I mean, they had 1,000 horses.
Yeah.
That they
great.
moved along,
Mm-hmm.
and so when they died, their obituaries were splashed on front page over Grand Rapids, because they were the horse dealers. And so, yeah, they lived in Grand Rapids, and she lived in Grand Rapids. She went to high school at Marywood, and she also went to school when she was on the road, when her mother was on the road singing and whatnot. She was in a boarding high school down in Kalamazoo called Nazareth.
Mm.
And then they
somewhere in there, family event.
got going.
Yeah.
They got going, yeah.
Yeah. So yes, she was obviously a strong lady, whether or not she wanted to be.
Oh yes, she definitely was, and I could show you her bookkeeping, which would drive you nuts. I mean, to think anyone could keep track of every penny.
Yeah.
And she was audited once by the IRS over income tax. They didn't have that much money getting audited, but she accounted for every penny that she paid in taxes. It was incredible. Yeah. So she was a good businesswoman all the way around.
Mm-hmm.
But not gainfully employed.
Yep. So she was good mom.
Good mom.
You
Tremendous.
appreciated her even more and more probably as you grew up.
Well, yeah, she was we had a great relationship,
Mm-hmm.
and as I did with my dad. So
Did so she was working as a social worker. Was that while you were at school? So she would be there, or was she gone?
well, she was well, that was during the 3 years, that
That in between period.
between 1940 and 43.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we'd go to school. And we had somebody come in that Miss Tufel was her
Miss
name,
Tufel. Okay.
to stay with us
Okay.
while she was away. And Miss Tufel would say, "Miss Tufel will get this for you. Miss Tufel will do this. Miss Tufel."
Remember her name. She hammered that into you.
So that's that was essentially it. We kept good relationships with the Joyce family
Mm-hmm.
during that time, obviously. So we go back and forth. I remember on VJ Day, victory over Japan,
Mm-hmm.
1944, 45, in that area. That well, I was 10 years old at that time, and I was vacationing in Cannesburg with my cousins.
Mm-hmm.
And the oldest cousin was 14, and we all hopped into a car on the VJ Day and drove into Grand Rapids. I mean, 14, it was the oldest one driving, and probably 6 of us in the
Mm-hmm.
car, just all little kids going over to celebrate the end of the war.
Yeah. So the Joyces then. So you just kept in touch until or did you fade out, or how did that work?
No, the Joyces faded out because they died.
Right.
But
Yeah, but I mean not before then, which is
yeah, we stayed in touch.
Mm-hmm.
And I was over there for my summers,
Mm-hmm.
not all summer, but probably 2-3 weeks anyway. And getting to know them, and well, they were family.
Yep.
So we did that.
And your cousins, you were just talking about your Joyce cousins.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I talked about my great grandfather having maybe 10 kids,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all in the family history when you want to look it up. But the youngest, my oldest cousin, Bill Hart, he was the son of my dad's youngest sister.
Mm-hmm.
He was an only child, and he married an only child from that area, and they had 10 kids. So you have a lot of cousins.
Yeah,
You haven't. And he died, but his wife still is over there, and their kids are around.
Was that? I remember a long time ago we went to a big family reunion. Was that the Joyces?
That was a Joyce reunion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of people there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I guess let's talk about William.
Didn't Matt go to that reunion?
Yeah, I did. I remembered it. Yeah. So William and Aurelia. So they were not from Ireland, but their parents were from Ireland.
Oh, well, no.
Or not Aurelia, I guess, but William.
William Patrick Joyce, his grandfather was from Ireland. And, I tried to trace him back to Ireland. He came from Galway, and even County Cork, over in that area. But his wife, my grandmother, Bador, Aurelia, we called her Dami Joyce, but her maiden name was Aurelia Bador. She came from Canada, and I don't know how that family ended up in Canada, the Badors.
Mm-hmm.
Other than
French?
Other than, yes.
Yeah, it's French.
And the president of France or whatnot at the time, he'd send a whole bunch of women over to Canada because the men over there didn't have enough French women.
It was all frontiersmen.
But that wasn't part of it. She was born either in Canada, or I think maybe in Sheboygan, Michigan, after they just emigrated to this area. And she was one of, I think, 6. One of the interesting things about her, she's an identical twin, by the way.
Oh.
One of the interesting things about her is that her father, living in Sheboygan, worked up in Mackinac City. And he'd go through the woods, the forest, to get there.
Right.
And he was extremely afraid of a forest fire up in that area when he was going back and forth. So he would bury tools along the way to save his life in case the fire came.
Was that a rational fear to have?
It was.
Okay.
It was because there were fires and deaths up there during that time.
So what were
his claim,
the tools for?
To dig a ditch or anything else, to get away, an axe to fell the trees, and whatnot.
Okay.
So his claim to fame is he put down the first communication cable between Mackinac City and the Upper Peninsula.
Oh, cool.
And he wouldn't share his secret as to how he did it, because of the fame came because of the currents, and how do you manage the cable and the currents and whatnot. But he put it down. He was the first one to do
cool.
that. Yeah.
Him and a crew of people, I assume, right?
Yeah, I imagine there were some other people there that he had working with him.
Was that for phones, or was that? I don't know when the phone was invented.
That was for teletype and everything else, I imagine.
Yeah.
So she came from Canada, and then her parents did, and she was born in Sheboygan, I think. A little rusty on the history on that part.
So you summered with them until you were 10, 15? They were.
Yeah, until I was 13, probably. 13. So, and again, it would be only a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks of the summer.
Yeah.
The rest of the time, I was employed.
Okay. We can get to that later. But so then the Packards and Kings, were they were still around as well?
The Packards.
Well, Gom obviously was.
Yeah,
right?
Gom was. My grandfather died when I was probably a year old.
Oh yeah, I see that now.
And she never remarried, although she was kind of smitten, I think, with an aerialist from the vaudeville and Chautauqua days.
So like a guy who would stand up on the wings of a plane.
Well,
that kind of.
No, he was more of a gymnast.
Like a
trapeze.
Yeah, okay.
Trapeze artist. But she could never. They could never get together and marry or anything like that, because she would not give up her Spanish-American War pension, which she'd have to give up. She'd have to give it up if she were to marry.
Oh, okay.
And her husband was my grandfather was in the Spanish-American War.
Oh, okay.
And serving his time in the Philippines.
The Spanish-American War was in the Philippines?
And that's where he was.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just think about Mexico.
Cuba. Yeah. Not so much Mexico.
Oh,
but,
wait. So wait, what am I thinking of? The Alamo.
I'm sorry?
What am I thinking of with the Alamo?
Oh, well, that was the war with Mexico.
Okay. That's just the only thing I can think of.
That's where Custer met his fate.
So Gom was around for a while, because I have heard stories of her growing up. So she was in Michigan around the whole time, because my aunts and uncles and dad tell stories about her.
Yeah. She was always Michigan, and she spent a lot of her time with her mother, Clara Everhard, King Everhard. And her mother was kind of a nurse at the Michigan Veterans Facility over in Grand Rapids. And she was a widow of a Civil War vet. so she was entitled apparently to live there as well after she worked there.
Mm-hmm.
So she lived at the veterans facility until she died, and my grandmother would take a bus to see her every day. Every day she'd take the bus. She'd have to transfer to another bus to go out, see her back, and back on her transfers back home.
Mm-hmm.
Every day. And my great grandma lived to be 96. She had a leg amputated about that time because she had diabetes.
Mm-hmm.
But she was a wonderful person too. I remember her well. She died in 1957, and about the same year I graduated from college.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandmother, when I was in high school, I was at a private school, a seminary, for 4 years, and she wrote me a postcard every day. Every day. Just like she visited her mother every day.
So how old was she when she stopped doing the touring? Or what age? Like 30s, 40s?
I would say she was probably, let's see, late 30s, I suppose.
Okay. And so this guy that she was smitten with, how do you know about him? Do you hear stories, or did she bring him around?
Well, he'd visit every now and then.
Okay.
Yeah, Charlie was his
Okay.
name.
Okay.
And nice guy.
Yeah.
They had their memories.
Okay.
It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, do you have a picture of Catherine? I think I saw your mom.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna put it into the.
Okay.
I'm gonna scan it in and put it
All
in.
right.
But yeah, she's.
That's two different views of her.
Yeah, she's
I
really
think
pretty.
she was 32 years old about that time.
32. I'm looking at her. That's what I would have guessed, like the 20s or something like that with this haircut. It's very very trendy at the time. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's Gom, her mother.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably one of her professional pictures.
For her touring, like a face shot or something
Yeah.
like that. Okay.
Yeah. I have other pictures here too. That's my sister and me. About
Yeah, that looks like you. That's Aunt Joan.
Mm-hmm. Is that Joan?
Is this high school or college?
College.
College. Okay. And then she was a nurse.
She was a nurse.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is good stuff.
So that came off my parents' mantle.
See, it's funny. I think that's what I think. William here actually looks like more like my dad. Like it almost like skipped, and then you look a lot like Uncle Paul and Uncle Mark here. That's funny. Weird how genetics work.
Yeah, you bet.
So, you got your own. You got this. Does this go up to your great grandparents?
Yeah, they go.
Okay.
Goes a ways.
So, do you know anything else? So, tell me. I want to actually know about the. Do you know anything about the trip over from Ireland? Was it during the Great Potato Famine?
No, it was before that.
Okay.
But I don't know anything about the trip. I've tried to trace the Joyce family to Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
but I think his name was Joseph. Let's see if I can get it here. Edward Joyce, Ireland. No, I've got it on my ancestry chart. This came from your dad's. Apparently, he doesn't have that. But I couldn't trace it. There are so many Joyces that came over from Ireland during that time. I forget the dates. I have to look it up.
Pretty common name.
But Joyce and if it's a Patrick or a Joseph,
Forget
scads of hundreds of them. But I can't do it. I'm almost have to hire somebody who's in Ancestry to be able to track him
Yeah.
and see where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
Your grandma has a better story about her people coming from
Mm-hmm. So we've got so William Patrick Joyce traced him from Ireland. Aurelia Badour, this is the French sending ladies over for the frontiersmen.
Yeah, but she wasn't one of them. I mean, that's part of the history,
her history.
Of how some of those French people got there to Canada.
Clayton Packard, where does he come from?
He came from Lowell, Michigan, and Ohio.
And do you know where?
And so his parents were from Ohio, but he was more Lowell.
Okay. And do you know where his roots were from Europe?
No, I don't. Not offhand, anyway.
Okay.
I don't.
And how about Mary King?
Yeah, no, they go back.
Guam.
Yeah, they go back to both Ireland and England, but mostly England.
I thought Guam was from Guam for most of my early life.
Guam from Guam.
Guam from Guam. Yeah, I thought you called her Guam because she was from Guam. I was like,
that would have worked. That would have worked. No, her family, her mother came from England, I believe, and her dad's family from Ireland. So we had Irish on both sides of the family, which left me with a DNA of 45%.
Okay.
It got watered down.
So, all right. So I guess we could probably bring it back to Catherine and Stanford. So they're ping-ponging between Florida and Michigan, but they ended up down in Florida.
Until a couple years before they died, and they came back here to be near us.
Okay.
So I kind of watched over them when they came back.
And that was in the late 70s, early 80s.
Well, probably around 81, because I think my mom lived a couple of years after she came back, and then my dad was taken care of by the Sisters of Mercy up in Alma, and I'd go see him every week, except for the week he died, and I wasn't there at that time, but he was taken care of. He died in 85. So they're both buried over in Lake Odessa.
So then did my dad and Uncle Paul, Mark, and Therese, they got to know them better later on when they were in high school, college? For those couple years that they were back? Or because you said they were gone for most of their lives?
Yeah, well, your dad, they all helped move them into their place here in East Lansing. And I guess they touched base during our whatever reunions we had. Reunions were a dinner,
right,
or something like that. But my mother got sick, lived maybe 4 years or 4 months after she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So, and with the family dispersed the way it is, they visited more than they did when they were in Florida.
Right.
That's it. Yeah.
Cool. So, yeah, that's pretty good. Do you want to talk about anybody else more that we didn't touch on?
Let's see. Well, I still have one cousin left. No, two cousins, the first cousins. And I'm still in touch with her.
From who? Where are they? Are they Joyce's?
There was a Joyce, yeah.
Okay.
She was, she's my father's brother's daughter. And she's maybe 6 months older than I am. She lives over in Saugatuck. So we're in touch all the time.
Okay.
And having a younger cousin, probably in her 70s, she's in the UP someplace.
Yeah.
Someplace.
It's all the woods up there.
Yeah. So, let's see. Clayton. We've got quite a few people that were Civil War people, for the North.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my dad, Sanford Lyon, also had another son, Edward.
From before.
No, his name was Edmund, and my blood brother was Edward.
Okay. So was Edmund from before a previous marriage?
No, yeah, from
Okay.
my dad's first marriage. His
Okay.
wife had died,
Okay.
and he was an only child.
Yeah.
And he was in the army during World War II, and he was a member of the First Occupational Force of Japan.
Oh wow.
And that was a big deal
Mm-hmm.
back then. So, I mean, he was much older. He had a daughter at the same age as I. And so, we never had a sibling relationship.
Right.
Other than he was close as he could be,
Right.
as a,
For someone 15, 20 years older than you?
yeah, at least. At least.
Oh, so was Sanford quite a bit older than your mom?
He was good 10 years. Let's
Okay.
see. He was born about 1894.
Yeah.
And she in 1906. So.
Okay.
So, your dad has really uncovered a lot of roots,
Mm-hmm.
for our family. So I just tacked on to his and added some more. But as I said, to get back into Ireland, who knows?
Yeah.
If I'll ever be able to do that.
Just
Because
throw a dart at the board and be like, all right, that's the.
Because you have to go
That's the
through
guy.
parish records and everything else, and the records are there.
Mhm.
It's just a matter of
Mm-hmm.
getting them.
And
And
the
it's
desire to do
And
the
it's
work.
too bad,
Yeah.
that my grandparents and their families didn't have this all documented.
Yeah.
Where they came from precisely.
Mm-hmm.
And if they did, it got destroyed somewhere along the line.
Yeah.
But if you go to Canonsburg today, the homestead is now gone. It was right on the corner of the main drag going through Canonsburg and Joyce Drive.
Mm-hmm.
See,
Joyce named.
Joyce, right? Named after
Oh, cool.
him, after the grandfather. And that homestead was torn down just 2 years ago.
Oh, really?
Now the interesting thing, the Honeydew Inn, I think, is now the new name of the bar over there.
Yeah.
And we stopped in there a couple of years ago, and the owner, Polish fellow, had all the pictures of my grandfather and the uncles and whatnot in the
really?
bar. In the
Oh,
bar,
that's sweet.
to keep the name going
Mhm.
over there. So if you're ever over there, stop in.
Yeah.
You can
Yep. So wait, what's
identify yourself.
what city is this again?
What city?
Yeah.
Canonsburg.
Canonsburg. Okay. I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's a kind of a neat little place. Okay, I see Grandma here.
Yep.
No, that's okay. I'm thinking that if I pulled this over.
No, it's perfect. Don't touch anything. We're good. So yeah. So
You are good. Okay.
Your mom's very interesting, and Sanford sounds interesting, and I'd like to know more about them, but we'll revisit them again
Okay.
coming up when we talk about you.
Okay.
And more stories of you being a kid and
Sounds good.
your whole life. All right. All right.
Sounds good. No.
All right.